Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with iTrack. Huge shout out to all the iTrack fam in the building, man. Hey, per usual, I have a handful of interesting videos, but before we get into any of that, man, I want to go ahead and get into a book I'm currently reading. It's called The Book of Conspiracies. Just wanted to get deeper into what is really going on. But before we do any of that, hitting that like button is a mandatory. And if you're not already a part of the iTrack fan, man, smash that subscribe button, man. We're trying to run these subs up. Before we even get started, hit that hype button for me.
Why do some people seem impossibly talented, like they can master anything they touch? I've spent 20 years studying human performance, and the answer might not be what you think. It's not just early specialization and hyperfocus, it's range. In the 1940s, actress Hedy Lamarr and composer George Antheil invented a technology that became the key precursor for Wi-Fi and GPS. She wasn't an engineer, he wasn't a scientist, but they connected ideas from acting, music, and mechanics, and that's what sparked innovation. That same pattern shows up all over the place. Einstein turned to violin to unlock his thinking in physics. And Nobel Prize-winning scientists are about 22 times more likely than their peers to paint, sing, write poetry, or perform in some way. They're not just diversifying for fun, they're cross-pollinating ideas. What this means for you, if you feel pulled in multiple directions, that's not necessarily a flaw, it might be fuel. The world's most adaptable people draw from different domains to see what more narrow specialists often miss. Exploration doesn't slow you down, it can multiply what you're able to do. So if you want to grow faster, don't just narrow your focus. Expand it.
Started out, Bad Bunny came out, and he was wearing a white jersey that has last name on it, and he chose the number 64. Now, this was, of course, Illuminate confirmed right off the bat. 64, the number to be found in chess, right? Because it's 8x8 grid of squares. It's the black and white tessellating floor of the Freemasonic temple. It's the idea of reconciliation of opposing forces. 64 also important in the I Ching for divination, because the I Ching uses 64 hexagrams, and it uses these very different variations of broken and solid and dashed lines, and the yin and the yang. Again, it's about opposing polarities. The alchemical marriage is the Hieros Gamos, sex magic. It's the Rosicrucian symbolism of the sacred marriage, which I also predicted some kind of rosy cross symbolism, if you recall. But it's about uniting the conscious with the unconscious, because that's what all of this ritual stuff is. It's about making contact with the subconscious and inserting messages. It's very much like Inception. That's what the MK Ultra project was all about. How to inception the masses, the mouth-breathing masses, and that's what they're doing. And that's why they're showing us these Epstein files and saying, like, hey, you know what we're doing? We're sacrificing kids to Moloch, and you're not going to do anything about it, because they've been MK Ultraing us for many years.
I'm a vampire hunter, that I hunt and kill them. I tell everybody that I'm an herbalist, and I can make a cup of tea for you that is the most wonderful thing you've ever tasted, and I can heal you or I can kill you without you ever knowing.
You want to talk about dangerous? That's what you call dangerous and unassuming. And the way she said it, I think she's been on that type of time for a while now.
My Senat has been replaced. They do this to all the regular people who make it big. So you can see here, these are two photos of Kai. And because he looks slightly different, this is a totally different person.
You know what, I'll say it right now, I don't give a fuck. I sold my soul. I went to a red room. Cheezer, Convi, Aiden, and Tav came in with red robes on, and they had blood stains dripping down their mouths. They walked up to me, walked around in a circle, and started doing a bunch of weird spells and shit, casting it on me. And I walked out after that, checked my bank account, $2 million in the account.
This is Lacey, a well-known streamer, and what he's just said is freaking people out. He casually drops a mention of a red room.
And all for $2 million? That just doesn't make any sense.
In 2023, Apple accidentally sent this guy 60 iPhones worth $100,000 after he placed an order for just 4. Apparently, they sent him 4 boxes of phones instead of just 4 phones. So he made a video about it and posted it on TikTok. Now, legally, he could have kept all the phones since they were sent to him, which of course led to over 48,000 comments of people begging him to send them one, which he didn't do. And instead, he made a second video where he made a deal with Apple where he gave them the 60 iPhones back, and in exchange, they gave him the 4 original phones that he bought for free.
Would you rather invent time travel or teleportation?
Actually, those things are almost the same thing.
Well, you know, you do have that classic time traveler problem of, like, if you go back and you tell yourself something, does that affect the outcome in a way that is perhaps bad? I'm happy with how things turned out. So I probably wouldn't do anything, because you just don't know if like some well-meaning thing you said to a younger version of yourself actually ends up with a worse outcome.
Ever notice some people slicing up their registration sticker with a razor blade? It's actually anti-theft. In big cities, these stickers get stolen all the time because registration fees are crazy expensive. So instead of peeling it clean, they cut it into pieces. That way, if a thief tries to rip it off, it just shreds apart.
The way this robotic hand was made is straight out of Westworld. The so-called 3D tissue braiding system uses a fiber-based forming process inspired by human biology. The Hungarian startup Alonic is advancing the technology with $7.2 million in new funding. Instead of machining and assembling rigid components, Alonic's system weaves robot bodies in a way that's closer to making clothing than industrial machinery. It braids high-strength fibers, elastic materials, tendons, cables, and other wiring around a simple internal frame. The result is a robot that's mechanically complete and ready for activation. Alonic is reportedly in talks with major U.S. robotics and tech firms to scale deployment of the 3D tissue system.
Jeffrey Epstein bought 300 gallons of sulfuric acid. That's used to dissolve bones, teeth, and any trace of human remains.
It's kind of obvious they're kind of propping him up to be some kind of genius savant, but at the end of the day, with somebody who's supposed to be as smart as he is and his IQ and all this, that, and the third, how are you that smart and you get caught?
Was the Harry Houdini of escaping his zoo enclosure, but it's what he did when he was free that really made him famous. Ken Allen lived in the San Diego Zoo and was a master escape artist. No matter how much money was spent on overhauling his enclosure, he kept finding new ways to escape. Zoo staff were baffled. They raised the walls, they added electrical wires, they even dressed staff up as tourists to spy on him, hoping to catch him in the act. But Ken was never fooled. He would just sit there and stare at the staff until they left. But all Ken wanted to do was some sightseeing and settle some beef on the other side of the zoo. Every time he broke free, Ken would just stroll along the path, looking at other animals like a regular visitor. But eventually, he would make his way to Otis, another orangutan that he hated, just to stand there and throw rocks at him.
Money changes things.
So it makes it easier.
That's for sure. Right. It's like people are like, well, money doesn't solve all your problems. Well, it does. It solves the easy ones, right?
Yes.
No one's going to solve the tough ones for you, but the money definitely solves the easy ones, right? Where you want to live, the type of healthcare you can have, and definitely the education that you can provide to your children.
Sometimes I'll play around with the devil only because he gives me what I want.
You do like rituals and stuff like that?
I sold my soul when I was like 16, bro, and he gave me everything I ever wanted. I bullshit you not.
You saw a demon, right?
I don't know what I seen, but I know it scared me. Anything I would ask for, bro, whatever I wrote down in my dream journal, it would happen. Yeah. But then you take it away. Once it's too good to be true, once gets too good, I know for a fact that it's something bad's gonna happen.
That's what the devil does. The Bible says he kills, steals, and destroys. So I was also working for the devil. So in the realm of the spirit, there's angelic and demonic beings. There's two kingdoms fighting. They're fighting over souls. So we're here on this earth realm to be tested. We're in the physical realm, but it's also spiritual. We are spirits, souls, and bodies. We're triune. We're 3 in 1. Our spirit comes from God. We enter this world. Our soul is created in our body. Our body goes back to dust, but our soul is our mind, will, and emotions. Right. It's who we are. But our spirit goes back to God. So our soul in this realm is being tested. This is the gospel. This the good news.
Hey, selling your soul at 16 is wild. I just know he knew he set himself up for failure.
This girl has a rare condition that prevents her wrist from fully straightening. Because of this, she experiences severe pain from time to time. To reduce the discomfort, she dips her hand into warm paraffin wax, then covers it with plastic wrap and insulated gloves. After 15 to 30 minutes, this treatment helps soften the skin and deeply warm the joints.
The fact that those 400 people who applied for the Super Bowl didn't know they would end up being bushes. The hiring required a specific height between 5'7" and 6" for an unknown job at the Super Bowl. And luckily for them, they applied and got to attend the Super Bowl for free. This whole thing was to avoid wasting time manually moving the bushes onto the field for the show. You can tell they were so happy to do their job, even though each costume weighed 40 pounds and they had to stay completely still the entire time.
The Joker smile is the synthesis of pleasure and pain. When drawn onto the face, it can be looked at as pleasure masking pain. When etched into the face, it's taking pleasure in pain.
And the creeps.
This man lived over a year with no heartbeat. In 2011, doctors performed a revolutionary surgery on a patient whose heart was beyond repair. But instead of giving him a transplant, they replaced his heart with 2 turbine pumps. No pulse, no heartbeat, no problem. He could talk, walk, and live a normal life, yet nurses couldn't find a pulse even if they tried. He was living proof that you don't actually need a heartbeat, just blood that keeps moving.
I was sleeping with so many girls. It was a girl that took one of my clothes and brought it to Jamaica, and I was bound to the girl, and yeah, and did witchcraft. As a prophet came up to me, he broke the altar off, said somebody took your clothes and took it to Jamaica, and they had you bound to the person. God. Yeah. So be careful sleeping with all these females. Y'all boys want to be players out there. You never know. It might be a crazy one out there.
Nasty. You know, the wild part about that is you generally don't hear about men doing things like that. I'm sure that it happens, but it's just not as common.
AI is now being used to find the location of a photo with no location data, just using the small details in the image. This is wild. Check this out. This site's called geospy.ai. So you can upload a photo. Here's a search. Comes back with the owner of the site in Massachusetts. The city's Boston. Here's some tacos. This looks like New York City. And some coordinates. Here's some food. We see that's in Indonesia. And then finally we have a place that looks like an office, and it's Italy. The public version of this tool is not 100% accurate every time, but AI is getting better and better every day. So check this out and stay safe.
Fun fact of the day. The skull of Saint Valentine is on display in the Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmodine in Rome, wearing a crown of flowers.
Okay guys, breaking news. Trump has just carried out what the White House are describing as the largest deregulation in US history. He has just revoked a scientific ruling that greenhouse gases are a danger to public health. And why that's so incredibly significant is that that ruling is actually the foundation that underpins all federal actions when limiting planet warming gases. And that includes motor vehicles, power plants, the oil and gas sector, methane from landfills, and even aircraft. The BBC report that environmental groups are saying that this move is by far the most significant rollback on climate change to date, and they will be challenging it in court. However, the White House are claiming that this ruling was one of the greatest scams in history that massively drove up the prices for the American consumers. And they said by overturning this regulation, it will save more than $1 trillion. They didn't give a time frame on that, and it will help to cut the price of energy, transport, and for automakers, it will reduce the price per vehicle of about $2,400. There you go.
So we all are aware of the conspiracies around the Super Bowl halftime show. Somebody sent me a clip of a guy breaking down the whole Bad Bunny show, and it's absolutely interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Now at first glance, it just looks like a giant spectacle, but the imagery used during the performance tells a specific story. From the beginning when Bad Bunny is in the fields, to the moment Lady Gaga dances on him, and then towards the end when he's on the power pose, it all tells a very specific message. While it just looked like a regular performance, when I tell you what this actually means, you won't see it the same. This year, the imagery wasn't as obvious as usual, but if you understand their language, you can decode the message. Let's look at how Bad Bunny started the performance. The performance started in the sugarcane fields with Bad Bunny wearing an all-white suit with a white jersey over it with the number 64. In these high-level industry rituals, white isn't just a fashion choice. It represents the albedo, the stage of purification and initiation in alchemy. In the occult, this signifies the subject has been washed clean of their old self to become a vessel for a new power. This was meant to represent his beginning, where he started from and how far his journey to the top was. The white outfit was a visual signal that Bad Bunny has officially been chosen as the new gatekeeper of the Latin industry. This is why he was surrounded by the other major names like Cardi B, Pedro Pascal, and Karol G. They weren't just guests, they were witnesses to the ritual. Simplify it for us normal folk. All of this is connected to something called the rebus. In alchemy, there's a ritual called the Great Work, or the magnum opus, which results in the creation of the rebus, what they call a divine being that has conquered duality by merging the masculine and feminine into one body. Basically a person who becomes gender neutral. When you see Bad Bunny in full drag in his Yo Perreo Sola video, or acting as his own female counterpart in his other videos, he isn't just playing dress up. He is embodying the alchemic archetype of what they call the divine hermaphrodite. He is signaling to those who know the code that he has completed his ascension and activated his divine spark. But the gender blurring is only half of the story. Look at the symbols he has been surrounding himself with since the beginning of his career. For years, Bad Bunny has used the third eye symbolism to represent a higher vision. In his Yo Perreo Solo video, we see him literally chained to demonic figures and surrounded by gothic ritualistic imagery.
Hey, yet and still, there is nothing new under the sun. But it is interesting to see that these patterns haven't stopped and a bit more easier to identify.
The rarest medical condition in the world. There's some conditions that we think of as rare, like conjoined twins, because you've probably never even met someone who was a conjoined twin before. And while it is rare, there's still around 2,000 conjoined twins born a year around the world. So it's rare, but not as rare as you think. And there's some conditions that are so rare, it's only affected 150 people, like alien hand syndrome. First observed in 1908 by a German neurologist, the patient previously had a stroke, and then all of a sudden her own hand would start strangling herself with no control to stop it. It's like a strange disease where the hand had a mind of its own and they couldn't control it. There's also aquagenic urticaria, which affects less than 100 people worldwide, where the patient is completely allergic to water. Some of them would cry and have hives develop on their face, and another reported that they couldn't shower for longer than 2 minutes. But we can go even rarer than that. There's a disorder that only affected a single person in the entire world. A boy from Germany born in 1984 suffered from developmental delays and neurological problems, and at age 14, researchers finally discovered what was wrong with him. He had a broken enzyme in a metabolic pathway, whatever that means. I'm not a doctor, but they named the disorder, and get this, RPI deficiency. Bro was the only person in the entire world with this condition, and they couldn't even name it after him. But since 2017, this disorder has now popped up in 4 other people, making it the rarest disorder in the entire world.
After months of speculation, it is now official. Kim Jong-un's daughter will be the new supreme leader of North Korea. And considering she's only rumored to be around 12 years old, this has caused a lot of mixed reactions. First off, the fact that North Korea might have a female president before the United States is kind of insane, but maybe there is a chance that she will be much nicer than her dad and actually treat the citizens well. Some are hoping that she's going to be different from her father and will unban internet use, and maybe even allow North Koreans to listen to music and watch movies. But considering the fact that this is Kim Jong-un's sister and she is allegedly the one pulling the strings behind the scenes, I would not get my hopes up just yet that his daughter is going to change anything.
99% of the music you go to see in a large venue, the singer is using a teleprompter for their lyrics. It's just the truth. Why would you get 30,000 people together and then forget the lyrics? There's a guy or girl whose job on tour is just to feed the lyrics to Beyonce while the show's going on. And that's why she knows all the words. So every artist is using a teleprompter, which makes it that much more impressive when you see Stevie Wonder in concert and he crushes it.
He will die if he sleeps for more than 2 hours at a time. Mark has one of the world's rarest conditions. He inherited an incurable and life-threatening disorder where his kidneys don't absorb water. Mark is always thirsty and needs to drink at least 20 liters of water a day just to stay alive. That's 5 gallons. Your average person needs just 1 liter. If he goes an hour without drinking water, he feels extreme thirst and his lips start to crack. He can last a maximum of 2 hours without water before he becomes completely dehydrated, which will lead to a seizure, brain damage, and loss of memory. It's a constant struggle to make sure he stays hydrated. Unfortunately, this is at all hours of the day, even when he's sleeping, so he's always exhausted. Coupled with the amount of times he has to go to the bathroom, his life is largely spent drinking and peeing. Being active is dangerous, and even simple things like traveling to his hometown could be life-threatening if he doesn't have constant access to water. Right now, there's no cure for Mark, but he's been experimenting with some treatments that at least help bring down the number of times he has to urinate.
No matter how bad you think you got it, there's always somebody out there that has it worse than you.
These are some of the smoothest, most reflective mirrors in the world. You think your fridge is smooth? No, it's bumpy. These mirrors are polished to be thousands of times smoother, with bumps only a few atoms thick. They weigh 40 kilograms or 88 pounds. A typical mirror in your bathroom is about 90 to 95% reflective, but these mirrors reflect 99.9999% of the light that hits them. But wait, that doesn't look like a mirror. You can see right through it. That's because these mirrors get coated with dozens of layers of different materials to perfect their reflectiveness. But now they definitely don't look like mirrors, and that's because they're not for visible light. They're made to reflect infrared light from this infrared laser. That's part of the most precise experiment humans have ever built. If you want to see what it does, follow along.
You never get 100% of someone back after cremation, because when someone is cremated, it's not ash that remains, it's bone fragments. Here's the part not many people know. During the cremation process, tissues vaporize, water becomes steam, fat combust, and organs, they simply disappear. Only the hard mineral part of your skeleton is left behind. And that's actually what's in the urn. It's not your entire body, basically just the part that didn't burn. After the cremation, large bone fragments may remain. So these are swept out of the cremator and then ran through a processor, which grinds them down to really small pieces, which many people refer to as ash. And that's why the average cremated remains weigh anywhere from only 3 to 7 pounds, no matter how heavy the person was, 150 or 500. I'm Brad, and you should follow Fun Funeral Facts for more information you never knew you needed.
Now I know I'm not the only one who didn't know exactly what those ashes were composed of.
These batteries are alive and they could replace regular lithium batteries forever. Regular batteries like the ones that power our tech come with a huge cost for the environment because they require lithium, which takes 500,000 gallons of water to extract 1 ton, draining reservoirs while leaving toxic waste behind. They also rely on cobalt, which is mostly dug up by children in Congo, all for batteries that only last a few years. But Chinese scientists have developed a biobattery that runs on electroactive bacteria that naturally produces electricity through its metabolic processes. The bacteria live inside tiny 3D printed hydrogels that act like mini power plants. The coolest part, the battery recharges itself. After 10 cycles, it still operates at 99.5% efficiency. After 50 charge cycles, it operates at 70% efficiency. It literally feeds itself and stays alive. The bio batteries won't power an EV tomorrow because the energy output is lower than lithium-ion batteries, but researchers are exploring ways to improve performance. For now, it's already being tested on smaller devices and the prototype is promising. But is it weird that part of me feels bad for the bacteria because it has to work so hard?
Yes, it is just a little bit weird. But outside of that, if you guys haven't noticed, everything is getting a facelift. Even the basic battery now. They're making that at least 50 times better than it was.
You won't believe this. A girl who looks exactly like the Mona Lisa was just discovered in a tiny mountain village. She'd never even heard of the painting. One day, a photographer passing through noticed her face, the same calm eyes, that mysterious half smile, and couldn't believe what he was seeing. He showed her a photo of Da Vinci's masterpiece, and she froze. It was like looking into a mirror. Soon, people from all over started showing up, taking pictures with her, calling her the real-life Mona Lisa. Fashion shows invited her. Scientists wanted to study her, and even psychologists tried to hypnotize her to see if she might remember a past life, but she refused every time. She said she didn't have time for that nonsense. She had goats, cows, and rabbits waiting for her back home. Is it really just coincidence?
Often call people in the industry demons figuratively, but CeeLo took it literally. He showed up with his son Lake, wearing blood red contact lenses and heavy black eye makeup to match a bright red outfit. He looked ridiculous, but his son looked like something straight out of the Conjuring movies. Lake had his face painted bone white with hollowed out black eyes, dressed in matching red like his father. This isn't just a fashion choice, it's a representation of how the industry grooms the next generation to keep the tradition alive. Since CeeLo is deep into the dark side of the industry, he's introducing his children to it early, just like we saw with Will Smith and their children. Will and Jada practically raised their children in the industry, and we all saw how that turned out for them. Not only are Jaden and Willow strange, but they have fully taken their place in the Hollywood system. This is what CeeLo and his son were openly showing us at the Grammys. When questioned about the outfit, CeeLo said, "I was born this way."
Because what's going on with the eyes, my guy?
I don't know. What do you see?
Oh, this. What do you mean? These aren't my real eyes? What do you mean?
Are you kidding? I was born this way.
Pay attention to that. He's telling you this is who he really is.
And you know what? I'm big on that, man. You only got to tell me one time, and I'm going to believe you.
In that we already know that sports are rigged, there's a script, because how is it that somebody on X predicted this very thing?
Oh, of course. You mean Elon's X?
That
They
X.
do a lot of predictions on events and all kind of shit like that.
How is it that there is somebody on X, his handle is John Boogie. John Boogie, he tweets back in 2015. He says, hey, the Seahawks will never win another Super Bowl until 2026.
Okay, so he had the sports almanac.
So the fact that
Sports
he
almanac.
tweets that and that it happens, for one, it's a 50-50 chance once you get to the Super Bowl. But the chances of predicting this 11 years ago, being that they have to make the Super Bowl first.
Yeah.
And then he predicts that they not only do that, but win as well. How do you know that?
And he did it twice.
Also in 2015, he also tweets, the Eagles are going to win Super Bowl 52. Now, that's 3 years removed from the time he tweeted. So Super Bowl 52 was in 2018. And guess who wins the Super Bowl? The Eagles.
So 3 years, that's one thing. But like 10, 11 years guessing is crazy. That's not a guess, bro.
You know, when Hulk Hogan wins a match, they actually script that out months in advance. Maybe this is the same shit.
That's months. We're talking over a decade. How do you do that? That's too far in advance.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
so many different things can change. I think he's a time traveler because how do you make those predictions that far in advance? That's some sports almanac shit. So in the movie Back to the Future 2, he has a sports almanac that predicts everything the next 50 years because he goes to the future, and he has a sports almanac, and from 1950 to 2000, every single sporting event is in that book. And he's like, oh, I could take this back to the past or to my time and just bet on it and win.
It's funny, Epstein's talking about time travel too. Like, we're seeing this in the files.
That's also in the files. He said, hey, let's look at the biological sequence of time travel. That's in the file.
Can't make this shit up, bro.
The biological sequence of time travel.
That's how he states it. He puts it in that format. He's asking one of his colleagues, hey, what's the biological sequence or process to do time travel?
Okay, so now we're Days of Futures Past. Now we're X-Men.
And he talks about mutants in that same email.
The cool shit, they actually did that shit in X-Men Days of Futures Past. Like, they biologically traveled back in time. That's how Wolverine got back.
His consciousness, right?
He went to earlier portion of his self. He didn't actually
time travel himself. His consciousness just went back to his body to kind of remote view in a way.
No, because his consciousness could control his biological essence and
time. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Now, what if Epstein's doing that?
You're right. I think that's the most logical, most realistic way to time travel.
That might be why he was asking the time travel, because he's like, look, the block is getting hot.
Yeah.
And I need to get the fuck out of here.
True.
You would travel back to an earlier version of yourself.
Right. And that way you're already privy to information to where you can help you. So if you go back in time per se, you can change a lot of things. Every time travel movie is coming true.
I definitely think time travel plays a big part in this existence, and we're going to take a deeper dive into it in the oncoming weeks, because that's definitely still a best kept secret among the elites. That's
Y chromosome, the one that determines if you're a male, is disappearing. As we all know, chromosomes are made up of tightly coiled DNA, and each segment of DNA is a gene. And the Y chromosome has lost 97% of its genes over the last few 100 million years. The X can recombine so mutations don't build up, girlies supporting girlies. But the little Y can't, because he's all alone. One crucial gene that the Y is still carrying is known as SRY. How fitting. The SARI gene is the genetic switch that determines male development. And at the rate the genes are disappearing, some geneticists predict the Y could disappear in several million years. Oh no. And that still doesn't necessarily mean the end of men. Some rodents have lost theirs and still have males and females. Instead, they use a new sex-determining gene on a different chromosome. The SRY gene could move to a different one, or a brand new sex-determining system could evolve. And it's worth noting that some geneticists don't believe the Y will disappear at all because its most essential genes have been stable, and that's what matters. Regardless, Homo sapiens have been around for like a couple 100,000 years. We're talking about this shit disappearing in several million. Who knows if our species altogether would even make it that far?
Hey, that would make a lot more sense as to why men are outnumbered on every continent on this earth.
Scientists have captured the oldest living vertebrate on Earth drifting through near black Arctic waters, a Greenland shark moving slowly through the depths. Clear footage of these sharks is extremely uncommon because they live so deep and in low light. Scientists believe some can live for centuries, with eye lens analysis suggesting lifespans up to 400 years and possibly even closer to 500. They only grow about a centimeter per year, yet can still reach lengths over 20 feet, and females may not reach sexual maturity until around 150 years old, one of the slowest life cycles ever recorded. Many carry parasites that eventually damage their vision, yet they still hunt using scent and vibration. If the highest estimates are correct, this animal could have been alive since the 1500s, moving through the ocean long before the Pilgrims sailed to America. Here's some footage from an actual other world, captured by a robotic rover crawling across the surface of Mars nearly 225 million miles from Earth. What you're seeing isn't a traditional video recording. It's a splicing of thousands of individual photos stitched together into a moving panorama, since rovers don't record footage the way cameras on Earth do. Every frame has to survive extreme cold, radiation, and dust before being sent back as radio signals traveling through space. You're looking at terrain no human has ever touched, ancient rock formations and dry landscapes that may have once held water, captured piece by piece by a machine made by humans exploring a silent planet.
One of the biggest myths about genius is that it looks like perfection and constant success. However, Leonardo da Vinci's life shows us the opposite. His work consisted of relentless iteration. He drafted, revised, abandoned, and returned. Even his so-called unfinished projects are better understood as the result of extreme standards and continuous refinement. His experimentation with technique in his painting The Last Supper, which ultimately caused the painting to deteriorate, was a strategic experiment. It reflects a willingness to risk failure in the pursuit of deeper understanding. And Da Vinci learned through cycles: attempt, feedback, correction, and revision. And this is the brutal truth that most people just don't want to hear. You don't learn like him by simply reading books and feeling good about yourself. You learn like him through failure, experimentation, and by eventually building systems. And here's how you can develop this. Choose one skill. Define a precise question, collect observations, reproduce the idea from memory, test it against a counterexample, revise your model, then explain that model in plain language, and then rinse and repeat. You see, schools reward correct output under time pressure, but Da Vinci, he trained himself for deep understanding. And that difference explains why his thinking still outperforms ours centuries later.
And you know what? There's no difference between Da Vinci and anybody else. He was just able to embrace resilience, being able to try something, fail, and come right back. Most people just can't stomach that. You know, 1 or 2 losses in life, and that's it for them. But the winners in life are able to bounce right back and get up like nothing happened.
So the FBI just admitted that they can receive footage from cameras outside of your home, like a Nest camera, even if that camera's not hooked up to Wi-Fi or that you're not paying the subscription currently. So the recent Nancy Guthrie kidnapping revealed a whole bunch of stuff that the FBI can actually do. Director Castrodel said they worked closely with private sector partners to continue to recover images or video footage, and that the video was recovered from residual data located on back-end systems. You know, we talk about putting tape over camera so they can't watch you, but at this point in time, there's probably cameras on everything. That little sensor that lights up on the bottom of your smart TV, that's probably a camera. Your smart thermostat probably has a camera in it too, so when you're walking through in the middle of the night naked, the government's probably seeing that, and if they're not watching it, now apparently they can access it if they want to. None of this should be a surprise to you anymore, but I'm just rambling about it. But what I'm saying, if you have a camera in your house that's not hooked up to Wi-Fi and you're not paying subscription costs to continue to use their services, apparently the government can still access it. I always tell people there's probably a reason why they stopped removable batteries in phones all at the same time. We're just living in that good old age of surveillance state.
And it's funny because a lot of people think that 24/7 surveillance is years away. And it's here right now. Literally, I would just assume that everything you're doing is being watched or listened to. That's what I would assume if I was you.
So, the legendary rock singer Kurt Cobain didn't unalive himself? What? It's just been reported that new forensic evidence is reshaping this entire case, marking it a homicide. Now, this was conducted by an unofficial private sector team of forensic scientists and a crime scene specialist who's previously worked on cases involving overdoses and gunshot trauma. Now, the team said it only took 3 days to find this evidence, including different handwriting on his note. And not to mention, the toxicology reports that the amount of heroin in his body would have knocked him out unconscious immediately. So how do you unalive yourself with a shotgun at that point? But it gets even wilder because I found a few interesting topics that Kirk was actually exposing.
With sheriffs who mutilated 2 teenagers in a satanic ritual. Yeah, that really happened. Isn't that where the rainforest is?
Now, if he's exposing sheriffs in his hometown doing satanic rituals and he didn't unalive himself, then who did? Which brings us to Al Deuce, who has a very, very interesting story about an offer he received.
But you did some deal with Courtney, right? Yeah. She offered me 50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain. Yeah, I was telling you this. She what? 50.
Now, in that interview, he states he didn't take the deal, but just a week later, he dies when he got struck by a train. How convenient, wouldn't you say? Now, we've had our suspicions about Courtney Love for years about having a hand in Kurt Cobain's death, but we have no evidence. But we do have Courtney Love showing up in the Epstein files where her name was circled in a book in a case related to Alan Dershowitz. Now, if you don't know who that is, a quick Google search will show you who he is. And some of the questions says, in your view, was Courtney Love involved in sex trafficking? They said, I don't know. And the other one says, was Courtney Love a witness to sex trafficking? So let's run this back. So Kurt had a problem with trafficking and satanic rituals, and Courtney Love is in the files regarding trafficking, and the Epstein files had satanic rituals. Got it. Like I always say, nothing is what it seems. Make sure you guys hit up my YouTube, The Maverick Approach, because I'm doing a deeper dive on this, but let me know what you guys think about all this down below.
Now, if you know anything about the whole Kurt Cobain unaliving thing, it was pretty obvious that he didn't do it to himself. But the whole Courtney Love situation, that's out of left field, but it would explain why she fell off the map.
Can't trust your Little Caesars anymore because the person making your pizzas might not even work there. This guy broke into Little Caesars one night, and instead of stealing money from the cash register, he decided to just work a shift. Jonathan Hackett broke in while the restaurant was closed, fired up the grill, flipped some dough, and started selling pizzas to real customers as if they were actually open. And he knew exactly what he was doing because he was a former employee who had worked at the store. And the first day, he actually got away with it. He made $50 off of selling 10 pizzas. It worked so well for him that he came back again for day 2. Only this time, the real staff was inside. And instead of letting him punch in, they punched him. Police said it got violent, and he had to be taken to the hospital, where they later arrested him.
It was very strange. It's nothing I've ever heard of. It's nothing that we've ever seen, in my 26 years of law enforcement here in Kingston. So this was a head scratcher and a first for us.
He's now facing 3 felonies, a misdemeanor, and because there was a winter storm that weekend, they slapped on a curfew violation for good measure. All in exchange for $50 and a shift at Little Caesars. No good deed goes unpunished.
Hey, Dum Diddy!
Border Patrol just signed a contract with Clearview AI, the most controversial facial recognition company on the planet. Clearview built its database by scraping over 60 billion photos from the open internet. Your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your dating profile, photos you posted years ago and forgot about, photos you're in the background of and didn't even know about. Now, according to a new Wired report, Border Patrol intelligence units will use it for what the contract calls tactical targeting and strategic counter-network analysis. What's missing from the contract is whether searches can include U.S. citizens, what types of photos agents can upload, and how long your face stays in the system. NIST tested Clearview AI alongside other vendors and found error rates above 20% on real-world photos, the blurry, low-light kind agents actually capture in the field. When agents search for someone who isn't in the database, the system doesn't say no match, it still returns a face, and every single one of them is the wrong person. Every photo you've ever appeared in online is now in a federal surveillance database, and they didn't ask.
Photo where he's with Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson didn't look like he was having a lot of fun, though.
I don't think he had a lot of fun, period. His doctor said he was chemically castrated. You know that?
I don't.
Yeah, the doctor that went to jail for giving him propofol that wound up killing him, that doctor got out of jail, spoke publicly about the fact that Michael, when he was young, was giving chemical castration drugs to protect his voice. Here, listen to him talk about this, because it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the only hardcore thing is that there was an extremely classified document dealing with religion, and it's about that thing. Period. But why would there be any classified material dealing with religion?
I want to go back to the religion thing. I want you to say it.
It's so far out.
All right, your objection has been noted.
Okay.
What does it say?
That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers.
Containers of?
Containers. Maybe containers of souls. You can come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers, and that's how we're mentioned in the document. That religion was specifically created, so we have some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the containers.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yikes. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
That you can actually damage your soul.
Yeah.
But it is almost like every holy text has that.
My wife came out of the closet and we split amicably. I'm very proud of her. My kids asked me how I feel about it, and I said 2 things. First, you don't own anyone just because you marry them. They're allowed to change. We can get a divorce, not a big deal. 2, she likes women. I understand. I do think it's ironic that we're getting a divorce now that we have something in common.
Hey, he completely overstood that situation. You can't be mad at him.
Speaking on stage at the 1 Billion Followers Summit, Mr. Beast suddenly paused mid-talk after spotting something unusual in the audience.
Before I answer that, can you two stand up real quick? Those guys might be the tallest guys I've ever seen in my life.
Standing among the crowd were 2 men so tall that they immediately caught his attention. Mr. Beast stopped the presentation and openly commented on their height, clearly stunned by what he was seeing.
I don't know these guys. This isn't planned. They walked in and it was...
He then invited the 2 men to come up on stage. As they walked forward, the scale of their size became impossible to ignore.
I don't want to stand up because I'm going to look like short. Okay, what is this? This is ridiculous. I feel like a toddler.
Once on stage, the comparison became even more striking. They stood beside the people on stage, comparing height and hand size, making everyone else look almost child-sized by comparison.
2, 3, and go. Come on, everyone.
Hey, incredible. That's definitely not AI.
Neuroscientists just testified before the US Senate and revealed that Gen Z has become the first generation in recorded history to score lower than their parents on an IQ test. Dude, this is actually insane right now. This neuroscientist just went before the US Senate and presented this data. The data is showing that Gen Z has recorded the lowest levels of cognitive development since the records began in the late 1800s. This not only means lower IQ scores, but lower memory, lower reading ability, and lower focus. And this isn't some random internet study, by the way. A massive study of over 730,000 people found a drop of roughly 7 IQ points per generation. Okay. And by the way, they're saying that this decline happened even between siblings raised in the same household, which means that it is not genetics, it is environmental. He's currently saying that the main cause is digital technology in schools. He presented a 6-decade trend showing that once countries adopt screens in classrooms, performance drops all across the board. Countries like Denmark have actually already started banning screens entirely in classrooms, and experts are now calling this a societal emergency.
I actually was fortunate enough to watch it happen. You know, at one point in time, nobody had a cell phone. The next thing you know, you blink your eye, everybody has a cell phone. It's easier to get rich now than it was back then, so you're not using as much brain power as you would have back then. People are becoming millionaires in the span of 1 or 2 years, and before everybody had a computer in their house, it was taking decades.
These are the 5 stupidest deaths this week. Number 5, the 39-year-old American woman that ended up brain dead over a 4chan prank. The woman chugged 2 liters of soy sauce, which is 5 times the fatal dose of sodium intake, in an attempt to cleanse her colon. This was because of a prank called the soy sauce cleanse, which was supposed to take harmful toxins out of the body. Instead, she went into cardiac arrest, had open to extract the corpse. Number 3, the owner of the Segway company who died on a Segway. In 2010, Jimmy Hesselden was out walking his dog on a Segway. He was walking up to another dog walker, so he reversed his Segway to let a new lava lamp. Hell yeah. But when it arrived and he turned it on, he decided it wasn't heating up fast enough. So he got the lava lamp, which is a glass bottle full of liquid, and he...
Well, you guys, hey, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for watching another one with me on this beautiful Friday. Before I get out of here, I'm gonna go ahead and share a book that I'm reading right now called The Big Book of Conspiracy Theories, History's Biggest Delusions and Speculations. You guys smash that like button on the way out, hit that subscribe button if you're not a part of the iTrack fam, and make sure to smash that hype button, man. It lets YouTube know that we are lit over here. I will definitely catch you on the next one.